What is up guys, Wraec is here with a new video, and today we are once again back on the Pioneer server because I did a lot of testing on Athalia in PvP. And I thought, well, let's take a look at this, let's take a look at what I found, and let's take a look at my results that I kind of got from this. Keep in mind, Pioneer server means the heroes can still change, and as this is a testing server, they often test different versions of the heroes. So before they are released on the global server, sometimes there are still changes to abilities. We saw this with twins, for example. That is also alright, by the way. Testing server, they need to test different stuff. So let's start off by showing you a fight against one of the strongest Athalia teams that I have seen. And this Athalia team was made by Derek's Jake, and what they came up with was an Athalia team that used a lot of celestial heroes. And that is really the advantage that we have with Athalia. We can put her in a twin link and together with Dunlinger and still activate the Mythic Plus that requires you to have heroes of the same faction in there. So Dunlinger and Athalia together. And I thought, well, that is pretty cool. Let's try to see how Athalia does against a hero that also many players use, and that is also a very, very big PvP powerhouse, Cryonaya. Put her in the link. That doesn't activate the Mythic Plus, sadly, but I still thought, okay, let's see what happens. And I want to show you guys what happens because it is fairly interesting. So let's take a look. Keep your eye on that Cryonaya, and we can see she does big damage with her storms, and she's gone. Yep, she just got one shot by Athalia. And that was something that during my initial tests in PvE I didn't really see, because that is rather PvP specific. During the time where Dunlinger blocks ults, she can still do tons and tons of damage, because her other abilities are still huge bursts. It feels like Vala's just shot one of her ults when she does one of her normal abilities. She can one-shot enemy heroes, she can just pierce through defense even without her main true damage part, which just like this dash, which doesn't even seem like a super big damage dealer, but it does 400% damage, which is really, really good. And then we also have the damage to adjacent enemies, and this is just like those abilities are already so strong that it can one-shot enemies and that it can defeat enemy heroes while your Dunlinger still blocks their ults. And usually for Cryonaya, your goal is really to cast and ult. But oftentimes when the enemy blocks that with the Dunlinger, you're really setting your team up to immediately cast a Cryonaya ult there. But Athalia can make it so you don't really even get to that point. I want to show it to you again. Big damage here from Cryonaya too. Cryonaya can also do a ton of damage with her ult, but not quite to that standard of burst, to not quite to this immediate hit where you one-shot an enemy. Cryonaya is like doing multiple small hits that in a sum turn out to be like very, very big damage. I thought, okay, I mean, this doesn't necessarily have too much implication for the meta that we are going to see on the global server, because there are some differences to global server. First of all, on the Pioneer server, doing all the testing and PvP that I did here, one thing that was very clear: people often tend to use Dunlinger. That isn't quite the case on the normal global server, because not many people have Dunlinger, not as at like a huge Paragon, because people summon a lot for the new Paragon heroes. For Dunlinger, many people didn't go the way to upgrade him to P4, and while he's dead, therefore very, very common on the Pioneer server, because everybody has him here at P4. That popularity often declines once we see him on the global server. And on the global server, I mean, you still have people using Dunlinger, but the question will be, do they have him at like a high Paragon, or do they have an inherent Paragon disadvantage already by using Dunlinger, which makes this a whole lot weaker. But here we can see she does very, very well just with her normal abilities, which is super strong. And I then thought, okay, what would happen if we go for a little bit more sustain? Something that we don't really use a whole lot during our current times, during our current meta. What if we go for a little bit more sustain and then see what Athalia can do against this? So I changed the team a little bit. And I made a bit of a fun team, because this is of course often a situation where you can use heroes on the Pioneer server that you otherwise maybe not have. We have a Gerda P4 here, which is pretty cool. We also have Lumont P4, so I thought let's put them on the Mauler tile that is also rarely used, put a Coco there, and we also use the Ice Guard spell and try to build a little bit of a sustain team where we jump with Gerda into the enemy team. And this kind of works pretty well. The team doesn't always do super well. If we get a Coco ult, that's nice. If we don't get that, then yeah, then we can kind of sometimes fall immediately. But what we can see is 30 seconds into the fight, we still have heroes. It's not like we got super destroyed. We didn't get the Coco ult, that is kind of sad. But we get to see the super nice animation over here. Big true damage, and that immediately takes out an enemy. So this sustain approach seems to counter like the normal abilities from Athalia, from the enemy Athalia, fairly well. Doesn't mean that you are going to win with this, especially not with this team, which is certainly a little bit meme-ish. But it does block the abilities to an extent. So playing a little bit more into sustain certainly counters her normal abilities quite well. So it's something that you can use against this team. Is this something that is very common? No, in this current meta we're not really playing around sustain. We're playing around very controlled burst teams with Wilder tiles, with like Graveborn and Stormstrike spell. That is something that is currently happening. And maybe also teams with Siren or something like that. But it is certainly interesting to see the effect of this. The effect of this where the ult of Athalia can still punch through the teams that I have built, where she can still get a one-shot on something like a Lumont, where she can still get a one-shot on a Gerda. But with her normal abilities, that then is a little bit less possible. So does that mean that on global we are going to see the rise of a sustain meta? I don't think so, because the combination that we counter here, which is Dunlinger Athalia, of course isn't very common. Dunlinger, to the extent that I already explained. Athalia, well, it's a new hero. People might go for her because she seems to do a lot of damage, but then again, I didn't really see too much use of her in PvE yet. I saw some use against Dream Realm bosses, but not like to the same extent where we had the Lily May release, where Lily May suddenly was there and crushed every single boss. There wasn't that kind of hype there yet, so we'll have to see what happens in the end when she's on global. But it is certainly interesting to see how that works. And then I thought, okay, then let's see who is the best hero. Because quite recently, if you guys have seen, we did a little bit of a meme video. And this meme video that we did used a hero that was known as the weakest hero there, and this hero turned out to be quite a monster. And now we'll be on Pioneer, and I already said we have this prime opportunity here to use heroes at P4 that we otherwise don't have at P4. And you know what that means. We bring the P4 Kafra, ladies and gentlemen. P4 Kafra is here, and I built a team. P4 Kafra, buffed by our wonderful Hugin, also at P4. Mythic Jumps, True Damage Conversion is active. We have him on a Wilder tile, he's completely immune. Ult blocked with the buff on our Kafra, a little bit of enemy ult counter. And then we have Lorsan there for some link. And I just want you to sit back and enjoy the madness that is about to ensue. Bam! That is one enemy done. Second enemy done. Twins are gone. Enemy Athalia still going strong. Okay, let's see if we can beat them. Come on. Come on, Kafra. Okay, that was the enemy Ludovic. They made the mistake of healing. You don't do that. Ah, okay, we lost that one. Quite sad. Oh no, let's not give it a replay. I want a revanche. Revanche. Come on. We can beat this. I'm pretty confident. Mr. Kafra, do your worst. Got a good hit there. Good hits. Take hit number 2. Question is, can we get rid of all the enemies before the enemy Athalia does some mean things to us? The ult animation that nobody's ever seen before. Got the counter. Come on. Ah! It was not even enemy Athalia. Enemy Athalia is already gone, by the way. in this situation, it is really just the Lance. We're losing to the Lance right now. That is quite sad. That is a good ability though. It's also something that I want to show you guys. You can't really remove her from the battlefield. She really stays a threat even when she's gone. So let's see if we can win 1 in 3 at least. Would have been a little bit too insane if we won like every single one. Okay, come on. That is really the fight that we want to see. Way cleaner. Give us an ult animation. There we go. Kafra ult animation versus Athalia, and of course Kafra wins. No question. First try. 36 million damage. That is the screenshot that you want to see. And there we go. So I thought a little bit of fun towards the end of the video. And yeah, the Kafra is apparently also really good. But also gave us a nice opportunity to see that even the Lance, when after Athalia dies, can still be a threat. So that is also a good ability. Yeah, will it be great in PvP? I think so. The question is it worth the risk of summoning for such a hero? You can't switch Celestial and Hypergen heroes after you summoned them. There weren't any tickets for that yet. So it's kind of final if you go for her. For me personally, I'm not convinced yet. I will go for Supreme Plus, yeah, but I'm not convinced to go beyond yet. I kind of am even more convinced to go for Dunlinger finally, because that guy seems to stay in the PvP teams, and every time people get the opportunity on Pioneer, they summon for him. So for me personally, Athalia, Supreme Plus, and probably finally going to upgrade my Dunlinger to P2 or P3 at least. And with that, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you haven't already, check out my link in the description for Lootbar. A lot of people subscribe there. Maybe we can get a collab with them. I might be in some talks. Might go some good way, I have to say. So definitely click on the link for some cheap dragon crystals, and with that, I wish you a great day. We'll see us in the next one.